Yo people, welcome to another video. It's CMDAV and we're here with another banger. We got Mika story time today. You ready for it? I am. Let's go. Mika was a bright, hard-working student who at one point was the victim of a cyberbullying campaign. She gains confidence during her time at Waterloo Road and is shown to be more fiery and opinionated than her sister Chloe. The first time we see Mika is in episode 1 of season 1. Her mum Izzy is trying to get her to eat, but Mika is more focused on how her parents have recently separated. She wants her dad to come back, but from the brief explanation from Izzy, it sounds like he doesn't want to come back, but she's not really understanding it. Later on, during Tom and Lorna's wedding, Mika is at home with her dad, whose name is Jimmy, and Chloe. She wants to go to his house, but Chloe is not having it at all. Mika catches Chloe later on sneaking out and then she tells her that she's for it. In episode 2, Mika is excited to see her dad in the morning before school. Jimmy is annoyed because Izzy said he can't have the kids anymore. Context, basically, he left early and that's when Chloe snuck out and that's how she was involved in the crash. Mika is sticking up for her dad, saying that Jimmy can't be blamed for everything, but more times he actually can be. Near towards the end of the episode, Izzy can't open her car. Back in the day, it was just keying the car to open it. Mika finds that it's been super glued and Izzy immediately says it was Jimmy. Mika starts to defend him again, telling Izzy she doesn't know that her dad did it. Izzy claps back, saying that she's the only one that doesn't know what a waste of space that Jimmy is. At this point, Mika is really just protecting him at all costs, very blinded, like cloud of judgment for real. Later on, Mika tells Izzy that Chloe snuck out and Izzy goes after her. Whilst Izzy is out, Mika reads her diary and finds out that Tom and Izzy kissed during Tom and Lorna's wedding. In episode 3, Mika tells Chloe that she read Izzy's diary and she uses this as a reason as to why her mum and dad broke up and that she was lying, saying that it was all Jimmy's fault. Chloe didn't find out until the end of the day, but Mika finally tells her that Izzy is in love with Mr. Clarkson, Tom, and that's the reason Jimmy went off her. Jimmy sneaks to see Mika and Chloe as soon as Izzy left, giving strict instructions not to open the door for anyone. Mika is excited to see him as always, and Chloe tells him that he's not welcome and he's not wanted. Chloe tells him that he shouldn't be sneaking behind Izzy's back, and Jimmy says he didn't know she wasn't going to be there,
which was a lie.
Mika agrees and angrily tells Chloe not to speak to their dad like that because he's there to see them. Mika gets angry at Chloe after Jimmy offers them to go out for food and the cinema, but Chloe says no. Mika says the only reason this is because Chloe went out and got people killed. Mika gets home with Jimmy after going out and is angry to hear that Izzy is going to family court, so Jimmy stays far away from her and her kids. Mika says thanks very much for consulting us on what we want, and you got a cheek talking about dad's girlfriend when it's obvious you fancy someone else. Clearly referring to Tom and what she read in the diary. In episode 4, Mika is happy that her dad is on the roof dressed like one hooligan in a rabbit suit, pledging for dad's justice for kids. When speaking to Tom later, she says that she knows Tom doesn't like her dad, but she doesn't want him off the roof. Tom explains that Izzy is upset about it, and Mika replies, "You know why that is, don't you?" Tom registers this and seems a bit confused. Mika carries on about how everybody's going in for her dad and it's not him to blame. Tom says no one forced him onto the roof. Mika says that there's no point in pretending and she knows the truth. Tom asks what's the truth and she says about you and my mum. Tom keeps composed, I can't even lie. He says that she needs to explain herself and she starts to waffle, saying that she has that feeling something is going on. He puts her in her place, says nothing is going on. She goes on to say that Lorna knows there's something going on as well because they had their secret meeting, but this was actually when Lorna got her abortion. Izzy speaks to Mika and Chloe about getting Jimmy off the roof. She reasons with them about she will allow them to see him every other week if he gets down. Mika is convinced, and when Jimmy gets down, Izzy tells him to tell Mika and Chloe how many weekends and holidays he'll have them for. Jimmy says he just wants to see them whenever, but Izzy insists that they need to have somewhat of a schedule. Mika tells him to say every other weekend and 2 weeks holiday because that's what she wants. He basically starts to backtrack, saying that it will be great but he just can't promise. Izzy thought he wanted to share and Mika answers for him saying, "You do, don't you, Dad?" She starts to defend him again, saying that Izzy's covering for what she's guilty of, getting a picture of Izzy's diary. Izzy then tells Chloe and Mika that the real reason why she stopped Jimmy from seeing them was because he stopped his checks to her. At this point, Mika's still in belief of her dad, but Izzy just says it was something quite big. So she's really looking at him asking, is this true? And he doesn't deny it. So she tells him to go back on the roof and jump off, and she walks away upset. She tells him he should have paid Izzy what he's supposed to, and basically now his word doesn't hold weight anymore, so she just brushes him off and walks away. Later on, as soon as Izzy walks away, she offers Chloe money for the bus as she plans to go see Dante while he's in jail. Mika tells Chloe she's stupid for her and Dante wanted to get engaged at 14, telling her Izzy is going to go mad when she finds out. She asks what happens if Dante gets to prison and Chloe says she'll wait for him. Mika calls her daft and worried about how Izzy will react, and Chloe tells her not to tell her. In episode 6, Chloe tells Mika that Dante finished with her. She's shocked because she thought they were going to get engaged, and she's even more shocked when Chloe tells her that Dante will try to blame her for the crash. Mika tells her not to worry and they'll sort it out. Then she starts to badmouth Dante. When do people ever learn? It's always the ones that they start to badmouth them, then all of a sudden they're back together within a couple of days, weeks, months. They don't even tell you at first, then boom, they're back together. In episode 7, Mika tells Chloe that Holly has woken up from a coma. She later catches Chloe leaving school and asks what she's doing. She tells her that she needs to go see Holly to see what she remembers. Mika doesn't understand why she's so worried because she's going to tell the truth. She offers to come, but Chloe declines and tells her to cover for her. In episode 8, the final episode of season 1, Mika's barely seen in the episode, but when she is, she's with Izzy and Chloe. Izzy tells the kids about her and Tom, but she has decided nothing will continue. Chloe and Mika agree that she doesn't need to give him up for them. Mika tells Izzy that they like Tom and it's her life. In season 2, episode 1, we see Mika talking to her friend who's introduced as Leanne, who's telling her that she must get extra help as she's living with Tom and Izzy. She meets the new boy Brett and they find some common ground as they both have parents working in the school and they both find it embarrassing. In the French lesson, Mika learns that Brett is fluent in French and jokingly asks for lessons. Leanne says she's getting all the perks. She then tries to embarrass her by talking about Izzy and Tom getting together. This leads to Brett defending Mika and she's basically gassed. Clear attraction from the get-go, you get me? Brett offers Mika a French lesson and says that she can come round and she agrees. Mika is annoyed when she finds out that Lorna is going to be staying with her as well at home. That means it's going to be Tom, Izzy and Lorna, and she's saying 3 English teachers in one house. She's basically annoyed, but it's mainly coming from her friend Leanne, who's been saying that she's getting all the perks. She gets to Brett's house and is surprised to see that Leanne is there. They go down to Brett's den where he starts to make cocktails for everyone. Mika's not really feeling it, but Leanne peer pressures her to wanting to have it.
And this is where the problems arise.
Leanne pulls her hoodie down to show her bra and says it's Mika's turn. Brett starts to undress too, saying he's up for it. When taking her jumper off, Leanne moves her bra and takes a picture of Mika's breasts. Basically, she took a picture of her nudes without even her consent, nothing. And rightly, Mika starts to switch, saying, "What are you doing?" And then she gets upset and goes home. She gets home and she sees Lorna. Lorna asks her what's wrong, and she says, "As if I'll tell you," because obviously she's not even happy with Lorna being in her house. In episode 2, we see Mika on her computer looking at a hate site which is targeting her. Janice alongside some other girls laugh at her, saying that someone's got a problem with her. Leanne says hi to Mika. Mika asks her why she set up that account. Leanne seems so oblivious to what Mika's talking about, and she acts as if this is the first time she's ever heard of the hate site. From the first episode, for me, I didn't really like Leanne. And with this hate site coming as well, it just made me hate her even more. But the character as a whole, the fact that I hate her so much, they did something well with that. But the character at the same time, I hate that character, you get me? Mika calls her a cow and that Brett must be a madman for hanging out with her. Leanne claps back saying that she doesn't know what she's talking about and she shouldn't badmouth her to Brett. Brett comes into the room and Mika just storms off. Brett stops Mika in the hallway. Brett asks her to stop walking off and just speak to him for a second. Mika says he's guilty conscious, but Brett is clueless, asking about what. He thinks that she didn't have fun at his house because they all got a bit drunk and wants to move on. Brett thinks Mika hates him and wants to know what he did. She tells him to go speak to his girlfriend and she's basically moving jealous. He says Leanne is not his girlfriend and he actually likes Mika. Mika's not really taking him in and thinks he's just playing the game so she can make a fool of herself again. After realizing she's been having a bit of a hard time, Steph tells Mika that she doesn't need to be bullied. Mika obviously denies being bullied. Leanne saw Mika talking to Steph and now when she's on her one, she goes to her and asks her what did Steph say. Mika tells Leanne to leave her alone. But Leanne says not until you piss off out of the school, Mika, and if you don't, there will be a picture of your tits on that website. Whoa, 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 whoa. After hearing that, Mika obviously lashes out. She gets angry and she gives her a slap. If it was me, it would have been more than a slap, but a slap is alright for now. Izzy asks Mika what's going on in her head and why she hit Leanne, but Mika just says that she felt like it and walks away. At the end of the school day, she looks at the hate site again. It's been updated and it says coming soon as topless Mika pictures. She starts to cry. Steph catches Mika in the toilet. She takes her out to get a drink and tells her to tell Andrew about the bullying. Mika plays it down as just some snidey comments and some text. Steph reminds her of the hateful website. Steph tells her that Leanne is out to make her life a living hell. She helps her out by trying to make the situation better. Finally seeing Mika smile for once. In episode 3, Mika is still getting bullied. She walks past Leanne and calls her a coward while Brett watches. Janice comes up to her saying that she changed schools if that stuff was being written about her. Brett doesn't understand why Mika is bitter towards Leanne. Mika tells him he's so smart yet he can't see what's in front of him. After speaking to Leanne, Steph finds Mika and tells her she missed out information such as drinking and losing control. Mika's upset because she didn't want her involved but she's made it worse. Jack brings Mika, Brett and Leanne into the office and Leanne tries to say that Mika wanted a threesome. Mika denies it obviously and Brett's like, what? Like, Brett is confused, he doesn't even know what's going on. Leanne claims that Mika got drunk and flashed both of them whilst her and Brett just danced. Brett says he doesn't remember Mika going weird, but Leanne interrupts him saying, yeah, but you had a bit of a funny turn, didn't you? I don't know whether this is referring to the alcohol smoking or what, I'm not even sure, but he then agrees with her, whilst Leanne carries on her nonsense claims that Mika was trying to threaten her to break up with Brett. Mika obviously denies it and then later attacks her again. Izzy finds out about Mika attacking Leanne. She gets annoyed because Izzy doesn't believe her about her being bullied. Izzy thinks she only had a problem with Tom and Lorna. They then argue about Tom, Lorna and Izzy putting her first, and Mika tells Izzy she's not going to be in the cooler again because she's walking, basically saying that she's going to leave school. Leanne goes to Mika's house and starts to say that everyone thinks Mika's perfect, but she wonders if they will after they see the picture of Mika. Mika's shocked and Leanne tells Mika that it's going to go on the website tonight. Mika realizes Leanne was just jealous of her and her mum, especially because she thinks Brett likes Mika. When Leanne is leaving, Mika says, fine, go ahead. You're a pathetic, nasty piece of work, and if you ever have kids, you better hope they never come across someone like you. Just want you to know you'll never get to me again. Some strong words finally shut the girl up, man. Mika goes upstairs into the toilet upset. She washes her face and then looks and sees medicine in the cabinet and contemplates life. She has too many pills in her hand alongside a glass of water in her room. Tom gives her a call and realizes she's in the house. He goes upstairs and doesn't hear her respond. Tom kicks the door down. Mika just put all the pills in her mouth, but Tom runs to her to get every single one out. He makes her spit it all out whilst Izzy watches shocked. Izzy feels terrible about not believing her. Mika tries to make Izzy to stop feeling bad, saying it wasn't her fault. Tom reassures her that Leanne is not coming back to the school, but she tells them about the picture she's going to post on the hate website. Izzy doesn't care and says they'll face it together. She sees that she's stopped it and removed all the hate from the website. Mika finally says it's over. She apologizes to Tom and Izzy and she says that it felt like the only option. She also tells Tom to stay. In episode 4, Izzy tells Mika if anyone gives her grief, she should tell her straight away. Steph makes a public apology to Mika for not taking her at her word. Mika apologized to Brett and Brett says that Leanne was a total nutcase. Steph then speaks to Mika privately about how awful she felt and she tells her to not let anyone make her feel down. In episode 5, Brett and Mika are showing some chemistry. He compliments her eyes but is then interrupted by Davina, who's got a thing going on with Brett. Mika even said this is the first time he's noticed her. Mika asks Brett if he wants to go out to some concert but he says he can't because he's seen someone. She asks if it's serious and he says he hopes so. In episode 6, Mika and Chloe talk about Stacey going after Tom. Mika defends Tom saying that he didn't seduce Stacey and says that she's stupid. Izzy recently gave birth to a stillborn, so she points out that there's no need to tell Izzy about Stacey's antics at the moment. Mika and Chloe get statements written about Stacey and Tom. Mika says it was obvious what she was trying to do. Mika denies 100% that Tom didn't reciprocate anything with Stacey. Later on, Brett is asking what's the matter with Mika, but obviously she can't say what's going on. Brett relates with her and she asks whether he can talk to his girlfriend about it. He doesn't really respond, but he says that they should go out for the night. Mika asks what about his girlfriend. For a girl who was simping, I was surprised she even asked that. He reassures her saying that he's not cheating and they're just friends. She acts natural and agrees, but it's obvious she's not satisfied with just being friends. She tells him she doesn't just want to be friends and she wants to go out properly. Brett pulls up to Mika's house and she asks what he's doing there. He says he doesn't want to just be friends and he thinks she means more to him than that. He asks whether she wants to go out for a drive but she declines. He takes it personal but she explains that there's family issues to deal with. Brett asks Mika in episode 7 whether it's possible to like 2 people at the same time. Mika is annoyed and says it's not possible and she says if that's what's bothering you, she'll stick her clashing head under a tap. Bit extreme. He asks how she's so sure about it and she says that if you really love someone you want to be with them all the time. She thinks he's talking about Leanne but Brett tells her it's Davina. She asks why did he come to her house the other day and she realizes that Davina blew him off. Brett says he feels something for her but Mika gets angry and tells him he makes her sick. Mika sees Davina come into the sixth form common room and asks if she's looking for Brett. She says she's just taking down some old notices. She's wondering why she has an attitude. Mika is annoyed because what Davina is doing to him. She tells him to stop playing games with Brett and be straight with him. As soon as Brett walks in, Davina storms off and he asks what did you say? In episode 8, things are awkward between Brett and Mika. He gives her an invite to Crimson Secret. I don't know what the hell that is. Mika guesses Davina is busy. Brett ensures that their relationship is over. Mika finds out it was the other way around but he played it down as mutual. Davina tells Mika that there's nothing going on with Brett. Mika asks whether Brett's serious about her. He says she needs to listen to her instincts. She apologizes to him and then she kisses him. Steph catches them and then Brett just walks away. Steph jokingly asks for advice on how to hold on to guys. There's a miscommunication between the two. Mika thought Steph knew about Davina and Brett but Steph only just found out now. Mika begs Steph not to say nothing. Mika catches Tom and Lorna talking in episode 9. She approaches her afterwards asking what's going on between them. She gets onto her about rubbing her relationship with Tom into Izzy's face. Lorna assures Mika she has both Tom and Izzy's best interests at heart. In episode 10, Brett breaks into Mika's locker to give her some chocolates as a gift. Mika tells him he needs to stop buying her things. She says it's not real and it's his dad's money. She offers Brett chicken or beef pot noodles. He says neither, whilst she says she really likes them. He offers that they go backpacking to Thailand to show her what real noodles look like. She tells him again what they can afford is different. Davina confronts Brett for telling Steph about their situationship. Mika confesses that she said something, but it was only because Steph acted like she knew. After school that day, Brett surprises Mika with dinner. It looks like he made the dinner, but he says it's not what she thinks. She assumes that he bought it, and then she tells him he doesn't listen. She says that she wants her parents to like him and that she wants him to understand. She goes on one tantrum, but Brett shows her it was just mineral water with some beans on toast. She apologizes and then reads into Brett saying that he acts really confident, but he's not. They basically then tell each other that they're feeling each other and they kiss. In the final episode of season 2, Mika is watching out for Chloe on her 16th birthday. Not much from Mika actually happens, but also Izzy dies this episode. In season 3, we start off in the new year where some time has passed after Izzy's death. Mika has come through with some nice blonde hair. In episode 1, she is trying to tell Chloe to tell Tom that she is getting married to Dante on the day. She makes Chloe promise to tell Tom. She tries to convince Tom to talk to Chloe about Dante rather than think she's gonna grow out of the relationship. She goes with Chloe to get married. Mika tells Tom not to move out after finding out Dante is going to move in. Mika says that she's not going to stay without Tom staying as well. Dante says it's alright, but Chloe wants them all to be together. In episode 2, Mika signs up for the school musical. She also convinces Brett to tutor Chloe in French. In her audition for the school musical, she does well, but not Alicia well. But decent. In episode 3, Mika tells Brett to go for the male lead role. Chloe is skeptical about doing another French lesson with Brett, mainly because her and Brett nearly kissed. Mika, not knowing this, tells her to carry on with it. In the callback for the lead role, Mika and Alicia are up for the same part. Brett got the male lead role, and they have been tasked to sing to Brett. Alicia immediately starts to flirt with Brett, and the jealous look from Mika is priceless. Alicia starts going on saying that she wants to play Roxy in Chicago, but instead gets laughed at like a dickhead. Mika ends up getting the role of Shannon, and even Mika was shocked that she didn't think she'd get it. Let's be honest, Alicia got robbed. Brett and Chloe sleep together during when they were supposed to be doing the French tutoring. Mika's talking to Brett and he's not looking at her because he feels guilty. She asks what's wrong as he's too quiet, and he says that he doesn't think that he should tutor Chloe anymore. In episode 4, Mika tells Chloe it's weird her not being at home and she and Tom miss her. Brett walks past them and Mika assumes they've had a falling out because of the way he just walked past very quickly. After asking Brett to give Chloe more French tutoring, Mika walks into another hostile conversation between Brett and Chloe and thinks they still haven't gone over their alleged falling out. He forces Brett and Chloe to talk to sort things out. In episode 5, Mika is still oblivious that her sister and boyfriend slept together behind her back. She's still confused as well about what's going on with Dante and Chloe. Chloe tells her that they had an argument. She tells Chloe to sort it out with Dante. Mika goes out with Brett to go get Tom a birthday present. Brett is being rude because he's still guilty. He says maybe he needs leaving alone. Mika asks if that's what he wants. He makes excuses saying that he enjoys spending time together but he needs his own space. Mika blames the musical as they're together all the time. She says that they can sort it out and then they break up. Mika bumps into Chloe and Dante. She tells Chloe that Brett broke up with her. Dante says he wonders why. Chloe tells her that they need to speak. Mika is confused thinking that Chloe met herself and Dante, but Dante sets her straight saying that him and Chloe have nothing to talk about and then he leaves. Mika and Chloe walk up the stairs. Dante comes back and says, "Oh Mika, try not to get too upset, you know, when she tells you that she slept with Brett." Mika's crying, asking how could you do this and what has she ever done to Chloe. Chloe apologizes and asks her not to go. She tries to stop her and receives one angry emotional slap telling Chloe not to touch her. They're beefing in the middle in front of everyone and Tom stops them and Mika tells Tom that Chloe slept with Brett. Tom says he knows and Mika is annoyed to be the last one to know. Tom tries to sort the situation out in a calm manner, but Mika says she's her sister. Before leaving, Mika tells Chloe she never wants to see her again and not to ever come home. Mika walks past Matt and tells him to forget about the musical and she's not going anywhere near Brett. Mika and Chloe encounter each other again when Chloe approaches. She tells Mika that they need to do something because Dante is going to beat up Brett. Mika, with her clouded judgment, assumes that Chloe means for the safety of Brett and not the effects it will have on Dante. Janice tells Chloe that she should have thought about it before sleeping with Brett. Maxine and Janice are asking Mika whether Dante and Chloe will be divorced. Tom asks Mika if he's seen Chloe and Chloe has actually run away and Mika does not care at all. Tom finds a letter and forces Mika to read it so they can identify where she's gone. In the letter, Chloe apologizes to Mika and tells her how much she loves her. She also says she's leaving and not to contact her. Mika then rips it up. In episode 6, Brett goes to Mika and talks about a website he set up for Chloe and along with Janice and Maxine wondered if she wanted to contribute. Mika says she's an evil little cow and she hopes that she throws herself under a bus. She then blames Brett as the reason why Chloe's gone missing. She meets up with Dante. Dante says he needs to know that Chloe's alright and asks whether Tom and Mika have heard anything. Mika's annoyed because she has everyone running after her and she believes that she's the one who really sees Chloe for what she is. Tom talks to Mika about thinking about how she's approaching this Chloe situation since she's run away. Mika starts to research teen runaways and the top searches for the dangers they face include prostitution, alcohol, drug abuse and pregnancy. Mika speaks to Jack and tells him she's thinking about what Izzy would do. He reassures her that Izzy loved her and Chloe both unconditionally. Mika asks about what Izzy said before she died. Jack tells her that Izzy said to look after her girls. After Rimmer's speech, Mika tells him that Izzy said he's the best head teacher she's ever worked with, and they share a hug because Rimmer's leaving. He reassures her that Chloe will come home. Mika and Dante have a conversation about Chloe. Dante says he's looked everywhere him and Chloe used to go and he hasn't seen her at all. In episode 7, Mika is more and more upset about Chloe. Janice and Maxine try to help her out and look out for her. They offer to go out that night, try to get her mind off Chloe, and Mika is annoyed by replying saying, "Go out and enjoy myself, as if I don't feel guilty enough." Janice is trying to tell her not to blame herself, but Mika's reminding her that she literally told Chloe not to come home ever again and stay away from her. She's at the point where she doesn't want anything apart from Chloe back. Mika goes out and buys some alcohol and drinks it at school. She's drowning her sorrows with that bottle. She then goes into school drunk. She sees Brett doing a presentation. She interrupts it whilst new head teacher Rachel is witnessing. Rachel tries to sort it out and her introduction to Mika isn't the best. Mika asks, "Who the hell are you?" and Rachel replies, "Your new head teacher," and then Mika vomits on Rachel. Mika apologizes to Rachel and Rachel tells her that Chloe has been found. Mika and Chloe see each other for the first time since and they run to each other and give each other a big long hug. In episode 8, Mika wants things to go back to normal. She tells Tom they had a bad time, but that was it after Tom was going to cancel going on a camping trip. Rachel calls Brett, Dante, Mika and Chloe into the office. She tells them they need to put what happened behind them and shake hands. Mika says she can stay out of Brett's way, but that's it. Brett wants to put things right and Mika says that he can put things right by leaving the school and transferring. Mika tells him she never wants to see him again, leading to him wanting to leave the school as soon as possible. Rachel asks Mika to tell Brett to stay. Her point is that him leaving is the easy way out and it leaves Dante, Chloe and herself to clean up the mess. Mika's not stupid though, and she knows the real reason why she wants Brett to stay is because he's a star pupil. And then finally Mika tells Brett she doesn't want him to leave. Mika tells Chloe that she made her feel bad and that she didn't look for her the way Dante looked for her. Mika doesn't deny that she wants her dead now. She later apologizes about what she said and gives Chloe a necklace. Mika wants Chloe to know regardless of what she did, she's her sister and she still loves her. In episode 9, because of the way Mika is acting, they think that the baby skeleton has something to do with her. Mika snaps at Carla for her petition. Brett sees this and intervenes, reminding her that Carla has Asperger's and it's unlike her to be insensitive. He can tell something is wrong and he keeps asking her what she's on about. He points out regardless of what he did, he still cares about her. She tells him that she's pregnant. Brett tells her that if it's his baby, he wants to support her, but she asks whether he thinks she would actually want to keep his baby. Mika and Brett go by a test. The results come back as negative. Mika notices Brett is disappointed. Brett says a part of him wanted Mika to be pregnant because he wanted the baby as well, and Mika stops him and says it's not about him. In episode 10, Mika regrets agreeing to do the musical. At practice together, she's distracted with Brett in the same room. Steph and Matt urge her to carry on before the technical rehearsal. Because she's not attempting her vocals, Brett asks if someone stepped on her foot. Mika is looking at him vexed. Steph takes Mika outside to have a word, and Mika already knows what she's going to say, that she's not trying hard enough. Mika says that the only reason she came back because Rachel asked her to, and that she made up with Chloe because she had to. Brett doesn't deserve the same treatment. Steph knows she's had a hard time, but says a person like Brett should not stand in the way of her career. Matt pressures Mika to know her cue in the scene. Mika says she knows. He also tells her not to forget her lines and worst case write them down on her hands. She shows him her hand written with many lines there. Throughout the musical, Mika takes Brett's words in for Shannon and herself. Their chemistry grows and they kiss on stage. Whether that was scripted or not, I don't know, but the look after tells me she liked it regardless. After the show, Brett sees Mika and tells her she was perfect. He goes on to say she must have felt the energy and chemistry on stage and asking whether he imagined it rhetorically. She shrugs it off and he doesn't believe her. She says it's called acting. He says he'll do anything to get back together with her, to give him a break, and he loves her. She says it's too late to say it, but she loves him too, or she did, but she can't undo what him and Chloe did to her, and neither can he. In episode 11, Mika and Brett are getting ready for their French exam, but she's brushing him off. Brett catches up with Mika asking about the exam. Then Mika asks if he wants something, and he says that he needs help with the school paper. He begs for her help. She gives him an idea, and he says to me after lunch, but she said that she wasn't actually going to help him. But then she says fine, and they both walk away smiling. Whilst helping Brett, Mika clocks that it was a ploy to take her out for a date, and it wasn't about the article. Mika walks behind Tom and Davina and finds out about them. Brett and Mika walk past each other. He's annoyed and says, "Don't worry, I'm not going to hassle you," and he'll avoid eye contact next time. Mika tells Chloe about Tom and Davina, but Chloe isn't sure about it. Mika assures her that it's true. Chloe says, is it even bad if he's dating, but because of the history between Mika and Davina, especially because she was with Brett, so obviously it's clouded judgment. Mika doesn't see what men can't resist about Davina because of Davina and Brett. Tom points out she shouldn't feel a way about her because it was a long time ago and not even why they broke up. Mika isn't surprised when Davina moving weird with Tom. She's not empathetic at all. Instead, she's saying that she wants Darren or her dad and that in the past she hasn't played hard to get. Tom visits Mika's room. Mika says she doesn't want Davina to make a fool out of Tom. Tom is explaining he knows how to look after himself. She says it feels like everyone around her is letting her down. She breaks down and says she doesn't want to see Brett again, but Tom doesn't believe her. Instead, he encourages her to message Brett, and she does and asks if he wants to come to her house. At the end of episode 13, after the school day, when Mika gets home, she's surprised to see Tom and Davina in bed together. He's like, "Hi Mika." The funniest line, he's trying to act natural, but it's so obvious. You can see the bra there. It's so obvious. When Davina leaves, she shares an awkward hi with Mika. Mika doesn't say anything, just walks away awkwardly. Mika, Tom, and Chloe see Davina walk past, and Mika says she didn't recognize her with clothes on. Mika goes to Brett asking if Davina keeps a scorecard. She then goes on to talk about Eddie's car and how he's polluting the environment with his 4x4. Brett has one too and tries to defend himself, saying that Eddie's burns twice the amount of his. Mika replies saying that you can't have a go at Lawson's car when you drive one yourself, which makes Brett say he's thinking about selling it. She says so someone else can drive it, that is so green. Is it me or was there a reverse Uno card? Cause why is my man simping over her now? They approach Eddie about being green and Eddie is not having it. Mika is happy that Brett is defending her cause. Brett has his car get junked. They want Eddie to see it and agree he might need more persuading. Mika asks Brett how he's gonna get to school now he doesn't have a car. He says bike or walking. She tells him if he's cycling they can do it together, but she doesn't know what shape her bike's in. He offers to take a look at it after school. At Mika's they have a moment. Later on Mika asks Brett why he's here and he says to save the planet. They move closer and it looks like they're gonna kiss, but they didn't and Brett looking upset. Mika and Brett continue to persuade Eddie to stop driving his car. They turn off all the lights in the school building. Eddie says regardless of how much carbon monoxide his car emits into the atmosphere, it doesn't give them the right to practice their child politics. They stick up posters of Eddie's car and how he's killing the planet. Eddie says he's fed up about his car being ridiculed. Eddie offers them a deal where they can use their voice for saving the planet through the school council with Eddie's backing. Mika doesn't believe it and says why would he support anything they put forward. Eddie wants them to establish credibility by looking at bullying to do with Miss Qureshi. Then Mika realizes after that they have integrity and they can bring up things they really care about. Michaela goes to Mika in the toilet asking about how Tom didn't tell her about Wendy Wiling, referring to Matt being gay. Mika isn't bothered or interested in what she's saying. Michaela says Tom could be one too and starts to say Izzy could have been one too. Mika gets angry and says to leave her mum out of it. Michaela says or what? Mika gets onto her saying that she hides behind her mates, saying that she uses them for her own benefits. She wants a 1v1 but Michaela gets shook and runs away. At the school council meeting, Mika encourages people to speak out but no one wants to. She starts to speak about how Michaela tried to intimidate her and it makes people want to speak up. They make a compromise with Eddie. They make a deal where he gets a smaller car and parks it on the road. In episode 16, Brett and Mika stop eating meat. They are happy about Eddie using the car sharing scheme and he's not happy about it at all. In episode 17, Mika is trying to go to London for some demo to do with the environment. She cycles to school to prove a point. She keeps talking about this guy called Leon. He sounds to have warped her mind. He told her that deforestation is like smoking and the damage is hidden. Mika takes Brett to the back of the school where builders are digging. They stand in front of the loader and protest. The guy in the truck was getting angry but they didn't move. They try to pressure them as the guy hops back in the truck and drives into them but obviously can't hit them, so he just sends for the head teacher. Then Mika calls for backup too. Eddie tells them to come inside but she declines and he tells them it wasn't a request. Eddie is angry about their behaviour. Leon meets Mika for the first time and comes out to help. Brett is unsure about Leon with his barbed wired approach to protecting the trees, but Mika is reassuring him that it's all good. Tom tells them about the school council meeting that Rachel has organised. Brett thinks it's a good idea to speak out their mind, but Mika believes that if they leave they win. She's telling Brett that they need to stick together. Mika is now up on the trees talking to Leon about Tom and her background into saving the environment. She says she's always loved nature and the environment. Leon tells her it's not about her and it's about the environment. Brett comes back with news saying that Rachel said they'll plant twice as much as plants and establish a garden. Leon says he came to save the trees and Mika agrees. Tom tells her it's time to calm down. Mika says Tom can't stop her, but Tom tells her he won't let her ruin her education. Leon emphasizes they need to hit back and show they can't be intimidated. Brett says that Tom showed that they can't do anything when they're up there. Leon thinks they're just kids playing games, so they need to make an impact. Leon says to leave it to him. Leon throws some bricks into the school. Brett is not happy, but Leon says they were empty classroom. Mika tells him to chill. Slowly, everyone starts to leave her on the tree. Brett and Mika are the last ones. Brett tells Mika that she's made her point, she's got new trees and extra stuff. Mika says Tom and Eddie can't tell her what to do. Brett told her that Leon can't either and she should make up her own mind. He asks whether today has been to do with winning against Tom or saving the trees. Brett apologizes and says it's too much and comes down, leading to Tom going up on a ladder to speak face to face. Leon tells her to kick the ladder and Tom falls off the ladder. Mika rushes down to see if Tom is okay and is crying. Tom tells Mika he knows she cares passionately about the environment, but that's not the correct way to go about it. Mika admits she's been acting like a spoilt brat and that Brett was right because most of today was just to wind up Tom. Tom says she did a good job. She apologizes and Tom apologizes and says he will start treating her like an adult. Before going home, Mika sees Brett and she apologizes to him, saying that she should have listened to him earlier. In episode 18, Mika is acting the second parent to Chloe when she realizes that Chloe is hiding her business from Tom. When Tom walks past, she hides her leaflets, but Mika says if she's doing her work, there shouldn't be any issue. Chloe says she doesn't want to have the father-daughter chat. Mika keeps asking rhetorical questions about whether she's doing her work, and Chloe gets annoyed, saying Tom and Mika are as bad as each other. Chloe tells Mika that Dante saw Davina get into a car with Jack. Brett isn't surprised that Jack would come back. Mika assumes that they would have got back together and there's nothing that they can do about it since they're adult. Chloe says they have to do something and she really likes Davina since she's the only person who took her seriously with her hairdressing. And she was nice to Mika too. Chloe points out that they both know that Tom loves Davina, but Brett and Mika says it's unlikely since it's too late. Brett says that Rimmer back on the scene, Tom doesn't have a chance. Mika is offended and decides she will help Chloe meddling. They start to draft letters to give to Davina on behalf of Tom. Mika continues part of the plan, saying that Tom, Chloe and herself should go out to a restaurant to cheer Tom up. Tom acts as if he's not upset and he says that if she's referring to Davina then the feelings are mutual. Then she proposes that he cheers her and Chloe up instead. He says maybe at the weekend. Mika guilt trips him, saying that he blames Chloe. Tom doesn't blame her and he agrees to go. Mika goes to Brett and Chloe, saying that it's sorted. Mika and Chloe make Tom dress into something sophisticated. At dinner, Mika and Chloe make excuses of the foods to have at the restaurant. They both go to the toilet, but in reality they meet up with Brett outside. Mika decides to go clubbing. Tom calls Mika angrily as he was made to look like a complete idiot. He tells her that Davina didn't show up. He calls it stupid and childish and Mika agrees and apologizes. She asks whether he's more annoyed about looking like a dummy or that Davina didn't show up. Mika gets home and tells Chloe that Davina didn't show up. Chloe surprised. Tom comes home and says he needs a bit upset. Someone rings the doorbell and Mika opens it and she's surprised to see that it's Davina and she says that it's nice to see her and she really means it this time. In the final episode of season 3, we first see Mika practicing for the spelling bee with Brett, Carla and Dom. She asks Chloe if she wants to go when she sees Dante and Celine in front of her. Chloe says no, it's not that deep and she says that she needs to move on if she's going to meet nice guys when they go away. Chloe tells Mika that Tom was looking at holiday brochures. Mika is nervous before the spelling bee, but they win the competition anyways. After the fire, Mika rushes to Dante asking if Chloe's with him. Dante says no. Mika panics assuming that she's still inside and Brett says we don't know that. Mika witnesses Chloe calling Dante asking for help. Mika runs to Chloe hugging her, asking if she's alright. Mika tells Tom to look at Davina while she's unconscious. And that is the final time we see Mika in Waterloo Road. Thank you for watching this video. This has been my longest video and I'm gassed about it. Don't worry, longer videos are coming. Let me know what you thought about it. Make sure you like, subscribe and comment, and I want to see the love. I love it. As always, stay safe. Peace.